We are now going to speak about retirement. How people picture retirement may shape motivation and behavior in the present. That's in an article that I posted for you by Tooney et al. In 2022. There is no one size fits all retirement view. That's so important to remember. And this lecture is just going to show all different kinds of avenues someone might take when they retire. Again, like I said in the older worker part of the lecture, this is a very westernized type of view. And I look forward to looking at the discussion board later to see what does retirement look like in your cultures. Topics in preparing to retire include financial planning, health issues, leisure, housing interprofessional relationships, legal issues, and the use of time and adjustment to roles. Hornstein and Wapner in 1986 coined these 4 retirement styles. The transition to old age and rest, which is retirement involves slowing down and diminishing activity. There's also the new beginning, a new phase of life where retirees focus on their own needs and goals rather than those of others. A continuation, where retirement gives freedom to pursue existing interests and activities, including work, in a more relaxed and self-directed way. An imposed disruption, when retirement is the loss of a highly valued activity. Schlossberg, 2004, had 5 distinct retirement types. The continuer and the adventurer tend to be when retirement gives freedom to pursue existing interests and activities, like I said, including work in a more relaxed way, and a new phase of life where retirees focus on their own needs and goals rather than those of others. Easy gliders value the freedom that is offered by retirement. Searchers are those who are uncertain and indecisive about retirement, and retreaters who tend to disengage from life entirely in retirement. The different phases of retirement. There's pre-retirement, when the planning occurs, retirement decision, which we look at what factors that influence that decision, and then, of course, adjusting to retirement. There are different models of retirement. It doesn't all have to be, I retired, so I completely stopped working, and now I have to decide what to do with the rest of my life. There's options now. There's something called phased retirement, where an individual gradually reduces the hours in the current position. So an example of this is job sharing. So maybe someone is in the same position, but now they only work 2 days a week and share that position with someone who's working the other 3 days a week. There's also something called a bridged retirement, where this is someone's doing a completely different job. They're working fewer hours at a different job than they were doing before they retired. They might be starting a new business, and this can help with different financial issues people face when they retire. The actually phases of retirement. So there's pre-retirement, and then there's retirement. So we look at the honeymoon phase, which people often see as the ability to pursue and engage in new projects and tasks that they were previously unable to perform due to their employment. Things that might be included in this are traveling, remodeling their home, etc. And then thinking about an immediate retirement routine. The next phase is disenchantment. So this is the realization that retirement hasn't worked out as someone might have thought or hoped, and now coping with the realities of life and the loss of income. The reorientation phase is when an individual reevaluates their life and leads to restructuring, thinking about what their lifestyle is and establishing some new routines. Their final retirement routine is when someone settles into a satisfying structure. This may require readjustment as abilities and wishes tend to change. And then termination is advanced aging and the onset of disability. Predictors of retirement adjustment and satisfaction are linked to health, income, attitudes, and preparedness for retirement. Preparedness meaning sometimes retirement is voluntary and sometimes it's non-voluntary. Typically, when it's voluntary, there's a greater life satisfaction, health, and occupational status. Involuntary individuals tend to show signs of poor adaptation. It's so important to think about income, of course. This is the primary stressor in retirement. Life satisfaction was related to level of retirement income opposed to predetermined income and need for adequate financial resources. People who tend to have a more positive attitude do tend to retire better. And preparedness. People who plan to make major life changes tend to be more successful in dealing with those changes. People with higher incomes are typically better prepared and have greater resources. And healthier lifestyles can also be an opportunity to explore new leisure activities and alternative housing. Pre-retirement planning activities, the 4 domains, looking at financial planning, like I said, health planning, social life planning, and psychological planning. Planning helps to increase the amount of retirement resources an individual might have. Research has showed that regardless of the domain, those who planned more for retirement reported greater satisfaction with their retirement compared to those who planned less, because it helped people develop realistic expectations about retirement. A rewarding retirement. The top 4 activities to overcome negative speculation about retirement were shown to be replacing work colleagues with a social network, rediscovering how to have fun, so thinking about different games or bridge or card games that they could do, and of course, other things outside of card games, having creativity as a primary goal, and engaging in lifelong learning. Some of the retirement concerns. People think about, will it truly be a reward? What will I do with the lack of structure in my daily life? Will I lose my sense of identity? Coping with changing roles and identity, and needing to replace a sense of mastery and self-efficacy in an elder's life. Research indicates that individuals feel released from the pressure of their career and jobs, and this is beneficial to retirement satisfaction. This provides the freedom from time demands and daily structure of work life to pursue other interests and activities at a relaxed pace. Retirement preparation. So there's formal and informal preparation programs. There are comprehensive programs and very simple programs. And then, of course, we are always questioning the effectiveness of these programs. Services are available by consulting firms, specialists, non-for-profit organizations, but really only a small percentage of workers participate in these preparation programs. Comprehensive programs can range from several sessions to 1 session and individual sessions versus group sessions. The topics tend to include health issues, leisure, housing, interpersonal relationships, legal issues, use of time, and adjustment to changing roles. Alternatives to retirement. Individuals might choose not to retire or to retire in a different way, thinking about the part-time worker role, volunteer work, variety of different roles, advisory roles to businesses, organizations, and persons, thinking about older adults as mentors and giving corporate and government initiatives, and educational opportunities. Many colleges do have tuition waiver programs for older adults and giving them the space to learn in the classroom. Different areas of OT intervention. Thinking about how are these individuals now going to look at time management and looking at leisure and work balances, social expectations, social relationships, finances and budgeting, and health, thinking about the physical and emotional health. In 2018, AJOP published This Issue Is, Expanding the Occupational Therapy Role to Support Transitions from Work to Retirement for People with Progressive Health Conditions. I recommend you all read this article. The rationale for OT involvement. Of course, we're always looking at occupation, promoting health and wellness, looking at community-based opportunities for these individuals, enhancement and maintenance of functional performance, and quality of life. As OTs, we should be advocating for older adults both in work and retirement arenas. I like this quote a lot. Retirement is a process. We tend to think of retirement as black and white. Either we're working or we're not. However, there's a gray area that many of us inhabit. I include myself in this group. I retired from my role as a healthcare professional and university professor a couple years ago, but maintain my own small freelance business. I can set my own schedule and decide how many hours I work. In other words, I feel freer. There's also a misconception that retirement tends to lead to isolation and lack of meaning. That doesn't have to be the case. By making a conscious effort to volunteer, foster new connections, and maintain important old ones, I'm able to feel productive while also enjoying a meaningful social life. And this was by Pat McKee. I think that's such a good way to look at retirement. And when someone starts contemplating it, to show there is a very positive side to retirement. I posted this article for you. It's a 2022 article about children of the revolution, the impact of the 1960s and 1970s, the cultural identification on baby boomers' views on retirement. This is, the people who are becoming the older adults right now. We need to account for the cultural climate in which baby boomers grew up in, and to help us understand how and why they might retire differently than previous cohorts. This is exactly what we hit on in your first semester of older adults when we thought about older adult cohorts and the impacts of their life events. Those who identified more with countercultural movements in their youth were more likely to identify with active retirement views, such as new beginning or continual retirement views. Similarly, countercultural identification was negatively associated with more inactive traditional views of retirement as a time to enjoy no longer working. Take a look at this on Canvas. This is the next article I posted for you about cross-cultural perspectives on the concept of retirement, an analytic redefinition. So what I really took away from this article was there are certain basic questions that recur in the discourse on retirement. We're questioning, do all cultures have people who retire? Is that a concept that is cross-cultural, or is that really, America or the Northeast? That's a question we should all ask ourselves. Is the notion of retirement universal, or is it alien to non-Western cultures? I'd like you to please share your culture's perspective on retirement on the discussion board on Canvas as much as you feel comfortable. You don't have to share anything that is too personal if you don't want to, but I think it will all help. It will help us all. We have 52 different perspectives, 51 with you and one more with me. We have 52 perspectives of people from different cultures and different backgrounds that can share what retirement looks like for their family, their loved ones, their friends. So please do that on the discussion board and make sure to read each other's reflections. That should be done within the module of this course when you're watching it during this class time. So to conclude, we just have to think about, is this retirement? People relaxing, having a cocktail by the pool, having a soda, whatever you like. Or is this retirement where people continue to do some form of work, part-time, phased, bridged? Or is this retirement people volunteering, people exercising? I love the bottom left picture. I've heard of this program, older adults holding babies in the NICU to provide that comfort for both sides of the spectrum. And there are your references. Thank you.